What if an entire group of people didn't just disappear, but willingly walked into something they believed would end their lives? And what if, centuries later, someone found proof that the legend was never just a story? Hundreds of years ago, in the forested hills of what's now Richland County, Wisconsin, three teenage hunters from the Ho-Chunk tribe went out to track deer. That wasn't unusual. What was unusual was that they never came back. At first, the tribal chief wasn't alarmed. Young hunters sometimes stayed out for days, but by the second night, their families felt something wasn't right. So a search party was formed, 10 strong warriors led by one of the tribe's most respected fighters. They followed the boys' tracks easily at first. The trail was clear. But something felt off. The tracks never paused. No signs of rest. No hunting stops. Just a straight line. Deeper and deeper into territory no one had reason to explore. Then the warriors reached a ravine. At the bottom stood a cave. The boys' footprints led inside. None came back out. Two warriors volunteered to enter first. The rest waited at the mouth of the cave, listening as their voices echoed inside, calling the boys' names. Then the voices stopped. Not faded, not distant. Stopped. Minutes passed. Total silence. The air outside felt heavier. One of the warriors stepped slightly inside and called for his men. That's when he heard it, a low, haunting chant coming from deep within the cave. At first it sounded like one voice, then many, layered, rising. He recognized it immediately. It was the death song. Among the Ho-Chunk, that chant wasn't sung casually. It was sung when a warrior believed he was about to die. Before he could react, 6 more warriors rushed into the darkness to save their brothers. The chanting grew louder. Then, silence again. Now only 2 remained outside, and when the death song began again, this time echoing like dozens of voices from deep underground, the lead warrior made a decision that haunted him forever. He ran. The next morning, nearly the entire village returned to that cave. This time they had a plan. They would enter together, holding hands in one long human chain. No one would get separated. They stepped into the darkness as one. 50 feet in, the cave turned sharply. Light disappeared completely. It was pitch black. The air was tight, suffocating. Then the chanting returned, louder, closer, surrounding them. The line moved forward slowly, hands locked tight, until suddenly, the man at the very front vanished. His hand went slack. Gone. Panic rippled through the line. People began screaming. The chant thundered in their ears. More hands slipped free. When survivors finally bolted from the cave, gasping and shaking, over a dozen people were missing. They had simply disappeared. The tribal chief declared the cave cursed, evil, a place that swallowed souls. It was sealed with massive stones, and for generations the story was passed down as a warning. Most assumed it was folklore, until 1930. A local antique dealer named Paul Seifert was hiking through those same rolling hills when he noticed something strange, a pile of rocks in a ravine that didn't look natural. Moss covered it, but the structure felt intentional. He moved the stones. Behind them was a cave entrance. Curiosity got the better of him. He returned days later with a lantern and supplies and stepped inside. He walked until the cave narrowed so tightly he had to crawl. Then suddenly it opened into a massive chamber, and what he saw made him freeze. Rows of human skeletons, dozens of them, all arranged the same way, kneeling, hands positioned over their heads, as if bowing. They weren't scattered. They weren't collapsed randomly. They were placed, and they were all facing the same direction. At the far end of the chamber, carved directly into the rock wall, was a massive stone chair, a throne. Nothing sat on it. Seifert didn't take anything. He didn't stay long. He left immediately and later reported the discovery to the Milwaukee Journal. But here's where it gets strange. There are no official excavation records that clearly document what happened next. No preserved photographs widely circulated. No detailed academic reports confirming the site. Just the story. So what happened inside that cave? Why were the skeletons kneeling? Why seal it so completely? And if this was some kind of ritual, who was the throne meant for? Was it a spiritual ceremony gone wrong? Mass hysteria? A cave collapse that forced people into one chamber? Or something the tribe encountered that they believed was powerful enough to demand a death song? Whatever the truth is, one thing remains deeply unsettling. If those skeletons were positioned intentionally, it means the people inside that chamber weren't running. They were kneeling. And that raises one final question. What were they bowing to?